All right, Mr. Johnston here. Let's go ahead and share my screen. That's Desmos. We'll be using that a little bit today. Not heavy though. All right, Thursday, September 17th, 2020. Today I can compare and order fractions, percents, decimals, scientific notation, and show proficiency, answering 70% of exit ticket questions correctly. Before we even start, if you watched the video from the 16th yesterday, I make a big time mistake. I refer to fractions, percents, and decimals all as irrational numbers. They are, in fact, rational. All fractions, all percents, and two types of decimals are rational numbers. So I just want to clear that up. I made a note on the previous video, but since I made that mistake in the beginning, I didn't want to shoot another 20-minute video. So, I mean, it is what it is. All right, so skip that. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're listing numbers in ascending and descending order. So the first thing I want to do is talk about two definitions. We have descending. Descending is when numbers are going down, right? So we have descending. Down starts with a D and it's descending starts with a D. So descending is when you go from greatest to least, or biggest to smallest. All right, and then on the opposite end of that, we have ascending. Now I'm only 95% sure I'm spelling this right. Ascending is going to go up. It's the opposite of descending. So we'll have from least to greatest, or smallest to biggest, or largest, however you want to say it. All right, so we just need to remember these two words, descending and ascending. All right, so I'm not going to do any Desmos tricks here because we did a lot of Desmos stuff yesterday. I'll wait till we get to one that has a little bit of everything in there. So what we can see, I'd like to point out there's a typo right here. This should be an 8. All right, so if you look at these four possible answers, I guess we should read the question first. Which set of numbers are listed in descending order? Descending, going down. So we're going from greatest to least. All right, and we're going to come back to that. So we read the question first, descending. Great. You look at these four possibilities, there's the same four numbers, they're just in different orders. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a list. And I saw another teacher do this, so I think it's a really good trick. So I have 66%, I have negative 66%, sorry, negative 0.45, negative 1/3, and 1.8. All right, I'm going to turn, just like yesterday, all of these need to be in decimal form. So if I have negative 66%, put my decimal here, I'm going to do double dip, 1, 2, bam, and draw my 0. So I'm going to have a negative 0.66. Over here for negative 0.45, that's already done for me, so thank you. And negative 1/3, I know off the top of my head, is negative 0.33, and it repeats, but because the next number, because the thousandth place would be another 3, I'm just going to round off to 100, so I'm just going to leave it here so that way all the numbers look similar. And then I'll have 1.80. I add the 0 because it doesn't change anything, and it makes all the numbers look similar. So I had a cord on my foot. All right, so right away, I know I'm going from greatest to least. So the first thing I want to do, well, the first thing I noticed personally is that I have 3 negative numbers and a positive number. So that's kind of a red flag. No way a negative number is going to be bigger than a positive number. Just never going to happen. Very rarely do I speak in absolutes. Only Sith speak in absolutes. But that's a Star Wars reference. But yeah, so here's an example of an absolute where a positive number is never going to be smaller than a negative. So I can go ahead and cross A and B out right away because I know the biggest number I have is going to be 1.8. Okay, And I remembered, surprisingly, that we are going to be going in descending order, which would be greatest to least. Usually I read the question, convert everything to decimals, and then just double check the question. That's my advice. All right, this one's a little tricky. So I'm going to draw a number line. God knows I love a number line. I'm gonna put 0, 1.5, 0.5. I'm gonna put a -1 over here. I'm gonna put a -0.5 right here. And we won't have to do this for all of them. I just want to kind of show you guys something. So I have this number right here, 0.33. So that's going to be about a third of the way down my number line on the negative side, right? And then I'm going to have -0.45, and that's going to be really close to the, whoops, sorry. I forgot I put that half in there. So it's going to be about a third of the way down. Wait. It's going to be about a third of the way down, sorry, from my number line. I forgot that I put this half there, so that changes the whole perspective. And then I have -0.45, which would be right up close, tight to -half. And then last but not least, I have 0.66, which will be about 2/3 down the number line. Now, in this case, when we're reading a number line, it's kind of like reading a book, right? We're reading it from left to right, right? Left to right. So every number on the left is smaller than the number on the right. Now we're going from greatest to least. So what we need to do is we need to find, we're going backwards essentially. So 1.8 would be somewhere like out here somewhere. This number line continued. All right, so we're actually reading this way because we're going from biggest to smallest. So I know that 1.8 is my biggest number, excuse me. I come down and I see red, that's my -1/3. That's my next biggest number. So I can cross out C. And then you can see that the others fall into place because I have 0.45, perfect, and -66%, perfect. Okay, so this one was a little tricky. Just remember to use your number line anytime you get decimals, especially when you have decimals this close knit together. Like if I had drawn a tight number line, like these dots would be on top of each other. So I just want to be aware of that. All right. I got a percent, I got a fraction, I got a scientific number, and a decimal. I'm going to go ahead and do this one on Desmos. And that way I don't have to worry about Desmos for the rest of this. So I have 65% here. Again, we're going to turn all of these into decimals. And then we need to arrange them from least to greatest. So we're going from smallest to biggest, which would be ascending. So 65%. We remember that if we're doing a percent and trying to get it to a decimal, we divide by 100. We always divide percents by 100. We want to make a decimal, so this would be 0.65. 2/3, again, pop that bad boy into Desmos. 2 divided by 3, 0.66666666, and it just keeps on going. So that's 0.6. I'm going to round it right here. Again, just to remind everybody about rounding. If this keeps going, right? But I want to round it here. I look to the right. If that number's 5 or bigger, then I'm going to add 1 right here. If it's 4 or less, then I'm just going to keep it the same. So that's why that changes to a 7. Let me rewrite that. All right, and last but not least, we have this scientific number, which is 6.04 times 10. Don't forget about your exponent button here, and please don't forget your negative if it is negative. If you put in a positive, you will get the wrong answer. So we have 0.604. So come back over here, 0.604. And here I have 6.40. I'm going to add another 0 just because I can. Add another 0 here, another 0 here. Excuse me. Because it makes all the numbers look similar. And you notice there's a lot of 6s and 4s and 0s going on here. So I kind of want them all to be similar so that way I have equal ground to work with. So I'm going from least to greatest. The first thing that I notice is that 6.40 is definitely bigger than all of these other numbers. And I can show you that by pulling out my handy dandy highlighter. And I start at my first number. Just like yesterday, we're going to work our way down each number. So I have a 0 here. 0 here, and a 6. 6 is way bigger than 0. I know we're going from least to greatest, but this should be a red flag for you guys. You guys should see that and be like, whoa, that doesn't even that doesn't fit with anything. Like everything else is so tight knit. So we can just put this guy right here, greatest. We got a quarter of the problem already done, and it's 100% guaranteed correct. Now I'm going to come back to my highlighter. I'm going to switch up colors on you. So I know here I've got a 6, and a 6. Now I'll follow the decimal. That doesn't really do me any good. So I'm going to hit this blue up, and I get 5, 7, and 0. Now we're talking. All right, now I'm going to start from the least and work my way to the greatest. All right, because like in math, we like to read left to right. So least to greatest. Well, I know my 0 is less than 5 and less than 7. So I'm going to say that's first, and that's definitely my smallest. And I say 5 is less than 7, so that's next. And then 2/3, we'll fill it in. All right, simple as that. I actually like these problems a lot more than these problems because these problems are messy looking. All right, step 1, read the question. Cannot stress enough how important it is to read the question. So I'm going to put the following rational numbers in order from greatest to least. So we see again, it's 4 numbers, just in different orders. So let's switch here. So I have negative 0.4, I have negative 1/4, I have 4.0 times 10 to the negative 3, and I have 40%. Now I know that this is already a decimal, so I'm good. I know that a fourth is negative 1/4 is going to be 0.25. I know that for this scientific number, this is negative right here. So I'm going to move the decimal to the left, like towards negative numbers on a number line. And it's 3, so I'm going to move it 3 times. So I'm going to 1, 2, 3. I'm going to drop my decimal off, add my 0, and then fill in all blank spaces with zeros. And then 40%, I start with my decimal, double dip. Remember, percent to decimal, or P to D is 2 to the left, 1, 2. Drop this guy off, add my 0, bam, I have 0.40. Now I'm going to add zeros to all of these just so, again, these numbers look similar. It makes me feel better. So I'm going from greatest to least. Again, I notice immediately that 2 of these numbers are positive and 2 of these numbers are negative. So the first thing I'm going to do, if I'm going from greatest to least, is I'm going to start with these positive numbers. They both have a 0, whatever. Decimal, now we have a 4 and a 0. I'm going from greatest to least. So I know 40% is bigger than my scientific number of 4.0 times 10 to the negative 3. So 40% is going to be my first number. Right? Yeah. So immediately, actually, usually it doesn't happen like this, we get the correct answer. Right? So we know the answer is going to be C. But just to continue, since, we could use the practice, we're going to go to the negative numbers. I have negative 0, decimal, negative 0.2, and a 4. Now, normally we would say, 4 is bigger. That's got to be next. But because they're negative, it's backwards. And negative 1/4 is closer to 0 than negative 0.14. Or when you're reading from left to right, 0.14 is further left than negative 1/4. So negative 1/4 is in fact the smallest number, and all of that falls into place here. All right, 3 more. Again, first step is to read the question. We're putting them in ascending order. Ascending means smallest to largest. So we're going to put these in to decimals. And I don't know what 3/16 is off the top of my head. I'm glad I left Desmos open. And I don't like that box. 3 divided by 16 gives me 0.1875. And I don't like that box. 1.875. 0.1875. We know decimals, you go 1, 2, or percent to decimal, fill in your 0. So I have 0.02. Right here, I know that this is positive, so I'm going this way with it, and it's a 2, so I'm moving this decimal, 1, 2, fill in with zeros, so I get 200. A fifth is 0.2, And 2/9 is repeating 2. So it's 0.22, and it just keeps going, but I'm just going to truncate it there. I'm going to add a 0 here, just so all my decimals look the same. And because I can, and we all need practice with rounding, I'm going to round right here to the hundredths. So I look over to the right. I see that that's a 7, so that's a definitely 5 or higher. So I need to add 1 right here, which will make this become 0.19. All right, ascending order, smallest to largest. Let me get rid of all of this stuff. Okay. Again, this 200 jumps out at me, so I'm just going to get him out of the way. Definitely the largest number in the group. Now I need to start looking at, now I need to start looking at the rest of these. So I start off, they're all zeros, no problem. I get here, they all have decimals, and then we get to 1, 0, 2, 2. All right. So let's start, we need to find the smallest number first. And I know that 0 is smaller than 1, is smaller than 2, so you go here. 1 is smaller than 2 and 2, so you go here. And now I need to work with this 0.2 and 0.22. So I go to the third number, and I notice that it's a 0 and a 2. I can tell you that 0 is smaller than 2. So the fifth goes here, 2/9 fills it in, and you're done. Whoops. All right, again, read the question first. We've got following numbers from greatest to least. So we're starting with the biggest number. I can tell you that 7/10 is 0.7. Double dip method, you get 0.07. Here we know that this is negative, so now it's going to go that way. It's going to go left towards the negative numbers on the number line. It's going to move 2 spaces, so we get 1, 2. So I put my 0 there. So I have 0.075. I know that 3/4 is going to be 0.75, and I know that 7.5 is already a decimal. So I'm going to go ahead and add a couple zeros here, 1 here, 1 here, and 2 here. That just makes me feel better. You don't have to do that. One of these problems, it actually does help, in my opinion. So again, so we're going from greatest to least. So I will start off with my highlighter. I know that I have a 0 here, 0 here, 0 here, 0 here, and a 7. So I think it's pretty obvious that 7.5 is going to be our biggest number. Back to my highlighter. I have decimals in all these in the next spot. Then I have a 7, a 0, a 0, a 7, and a 5. I'm looking for biggest numbers, right? Biggest numbers to least. So I know that 7 is higher than 5, 5 is higher than 0. So let me mess with these 7s first. So next number down, I have a 0 and a 5. I know that 5 is bigger than 0. So I bring my 3/4 down and my 7/10 down. Now I go back to my green section here because I've gotten rid of all the 7s. So I see I have a 5 and zeros. Well, oh, sorry. The 5's already gone. Never mind. So now I have these 2 zeros. And I notice that 1 is a 1 and 1 is 7. And I can tell you that 7 is bigger than 1. And 7% will round us up. All right, last problem for today. Which list is ordered from greatest to least? It's a couple of tricky things here. I guess I will use Desmos again just to kind of show you guys something. So I have 0.25, which is already a decimal. 0.25. I have 30%. And I know that I'm going to go 1, 2, drop off my decimal, put my 0. So I get 0.30. Then I have 2.3 times 10 to the 0. Now here's a little trick. This is 10 to the 0. Now I know if it's negative, it's going to go, the decimal is going to move to the left. And if it's like -4, it'll move to the left 4. If it's positive 10, it'll move to the right 10. But if it's 0, you guessed it, that decimal just doesn't move. And I'm going to add a 0 because I can. And I have 2 1/4. This is a mixed fraction. I haven't found a friendly way to do this on Desmos. On my TI-84 does a great job of this. But if I go 1/4, right, I get 0.2. I click this answer, and then I add the whole number that was attached to that fraction. Whatever whole number was in front of it gets added to that decimal that we got from the fraction. So that becomes 2.25. All right, so again, just because this is the last one, I will do the whole shebang for you guys with the highlighter. So I'm gonna start off with the first number. We are going from greatest to least, so we wanna find the biggest number first. So I have 0, 0, 2, and 2. So I'm gonna mess with these 2's right here first. I'm gonna leave these 0's off to the side. You guys just hang out up top by yourself. Then I have this 0.3, or this 3, and then this 2. So I can tell you that 3 is bigger than 2. So I know that my scientific number is going to lead off the correct answer. So A and D, y'all gone. And then here, they actually got it right. So B and C not only have the scientific number, but it also has our mixed fraction. So we still have work to do. So I'm going to come back to my known smaller numbers and go down the line a little bit. And I see that I have a 3 and a 2. Well, I know that 3 is bigger than 2. So that means my 30% is going to be my next number, and that's going, and my 0.25 is going to be my last. So C is not correct, and A is in fact the correct answer. All right, so that's all I got for you today. All these videos, again, if you don't like my voice, they're all in your Schoology folder. Good luck, excellent work today, and I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow.